Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and iOS 26 has been out for a good week at this point. And while I'm not running the developer or public beta as of yet, in this video, I'm going to talk about some more new features that are in iOS 26. And the first feature is when you go to do a software update, or you've done a software update and you're checking the build number. In iOS 26, you now have the option to check the build number directly from the software update page itself. In iOS 26, there's going to be an option that says more details. And from there, when you click on it, it brings you straight to the build number. Whereas before, you'd have to go to About, iOS version, and you would check the build number that way. And this will also show you that I'm not running the beta. I'm on iOS 18.5, but I'm still going to talk about new features that are in iOS 26. Another feature is when you go into the camera. The camera app has been updated. First off, you see that the options here, everything is on the bottom. That's for one. When you go into the camera app here, you can see that you see my iPad in this photo. You can just swipe up to get to your different controls in iOS 26. That is a nice new change in that update. Now, this is a new feature as well. In iOS 26, you now have an update to the YouTube album art. I'm going to play a podcast. I'm not going to play all of it, but I'm just going to show this to you really quickly here.
Cheers.
So I started a podcast here, and you can see on iOS 18, the album art. You can still see my date and the time, but in iOS 26, they have completely updated this. It no longer just shows the time in below the date. They have shrunk the time and they have put it next to the date. The reason why they've done that is now because you have full screen album art. I think that is quite a nice change in iOS 26. And also the developer app, which shows WWDC and some other features, that app has a redesign. It looks a little bit different. And they've also updated the Apple Vision Pro app. I might have it up here somewhere in an older screenshot. You can see here, this is the Apple Vision Pro app. It looks completely different in iOS 26. So they have updated the Apple Vision Pro application. Now, if we go into settings, accessibility, and wherever under here, somewhere in here there might be motion. So let me find it here. I wish they'll let you search in here. Okay, there it is. If we go to vehicle motion cues, if that's not in here. Well, I'll just add it in the control center. Because for some reason, it's not showing up for me. Now, this isn't going to show up. It will show up for me, but you guys won't be able to see it. But when I turn on vehicle motion cues, we get these dots on the screen. Well, in iOS 26, they're allowing you to update this. They're allowing you to adjust different parts of it. I'm going to still see if I can try to find it here. I was able to locate it. Well, I might have to try to take some time and find it and demonstrate it in a different video. Maybe when I install the iOS 26 public beta. But in iOS 26, they're allowing you to customize vehicle motion cues. So they're allowing you to do updates to vehicle motion cues. You can customize things such as how many dots you want to have, how large you want them to be. You can customize that in iOS 26. Now, back tap. This is not going to show up even if I were running the beta, because this is only for iPhones with dynamic island. So if you have an iPhone 14 Pro or any of the iPhone 15 and iPhone 16 models, this should show up for you. But if you enable back tap, the banner that which back tap will be enabled, it will come right out of the dynamic island. I wish I had an iPhone that had a dynamic island so I could show this to you guys when I install the public beta, but unfortunately, I do not. And another feature, this is an update to the video player. It has some of that translucency, that liquid glass around it. And it's also like that, and YouTube somehow refreshed on me here. So you can see here, this is one of my videos. This also will work if you go into a YouTube video with picture-in-picture mode. Has just turned into, so you can see I'm playing one of my videos here. Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins. Now this isn't going to show up for me as I'm not running the iOS 26 beta, but once I install the public beta, I will be sure to mention this and show it off for you guys in the video. But you now have that glass sort of effect around the play button with the new updated video player. This is honestly by far my favorite change. I've been wanting this for a long time. Ever since iOS 15, the early betas, Apple brought back the floating tab bar. Initially, they brought back the tab bar and you can see it's floating. Well, now, if you go into settings, you scroll down to apps, and you go all the way down to Safari. I'm just going to search for it. So we go into Safari here, and you see how we have bottom or tab bar. We have bottom tab bar and top tab bar. You can see it moves it back up to the top. Well, in iOS 26, you now also have, you still have bottom and top, but when you select, you have compact tab bar, which is kind of on the iPad, how you have all of your tabs next to each other. I've showed this off in videos on the iPad where you have compact tab bar, but when you enable the bottom tab bar, how we look at it on my iPhone and we see that it's edge to edge all the way across. Well, in iOS 26, it doesn't go all the way across. It's kind of like how the app dock is, how it goes only across and it doesn't touch the edge of the iPhone, unlike where iPhones that have home buttons, such as the iPhone SE, the app dock goes all the way from edge to edge, where on iPhones without home buttons, like my iPhone 12, it doesn't. Well, the same thing is the case, but I believe this might even be on the iPhone SE as well, with the Safari tab bar. It doesn't go all the way across the edge anymore like it used to in iOS 18. And even when you have the top bar enabled, when you select the top bar, it's still floating in iOS 26. Also, when you go into Safari settings and you go all the way to the bottom under Advanced, there is some new updates in here for all browsing. You also have advanced tracking and fingerprinting protection as a new feature in iOS 26. But this right here is showing up for me even on iOS 18. So maybe this is a feature that already existed, but Apple added some, they've updated it a little bit. But that's new in iOS 26. Now, personally, the iPad gets some features, and I do want to mention them because this is my favorite, some of my favorite features that they've brought to iPad in iPadOS 26. In iPadOS 26, some of my favorite features that they brought over was you now have window management in all apps. So how you go into your iPad and you have split screen. Split screen is gone, basically. So if we go into settings and we go into home screen, or we go into multitasking and gestures, earlier this year or a couple months ago, I thought split screen wasn't working. I actually had it disabled. You do have the option to disable split screen, but now in iPadOS 26, you don't have the option that says split screen. I don't know if they've updated this. I imagine that they probably did. But in iPadOS 26, you basically now have window management system, or window. It's not called Stage Manager, so the new name is a little bit confusing, but some people call it the windowing system. It might take me a bit to get used to saying that new name. Is this a completely different name? But you now have an updated multitasking feature on all iPads. So whenever you open up any app, it opens up in a window. And you also get these traffic light buttons like you do on macOS, red, yellow, and green, to close, minimize, and full and half screen the app. And to show you, I do have an iPad Air 4th generation from 2020. And this iPad will also be getting the new windowing system as well. As far as other features that is in iOS 26, well, those are most of the features. Those are some features that I wanted to mention. We still have our updates to Control Center with the liquid glass. And again, if you want to turn off some of that, you go to accessibility, then you go under display and text size, and you turn on reduce transparency. I do not like how this looks. I've mentioned that in other videos, but it can be helpful if you don't like the sort of liquid glass. If you don't like sort of that liquid glass effect that Apple has, you easily can turn that off going to accessibility, display and text size, and reduce transparency. But I'm going to keep that enabled because, or I'm going to keep that disabled because I do not like how that looks. But if it's helpful to you, that is how you enable it. If you don't care for the liquid glass effects in iOS 26, you go to accessibility, display and text size, and reduce transparency, and you want to enable that. And that's what you do. However, for me, I'm keeping that disabled as I like all of those features. And when I install the public beta next month on my iPhone 12, I am definitely going to be excited to try out some of those features. If you're using iOS 26, I know I'm not, at least not yet. But if you are, leave a comment on this video and what iPhone did you install it on and how is the experience running for you? What do you think of some of the liquid glass features that is in iOS 26? And overall, what do you think of the software? I'm going to make more videos of iOS 26. And also, I didn't mention this at the start of the video. Today is June 16th. Today makes 7 months since I've been on YouTube, but I'll probably do a live stream later today to talk about that, and I'll also mention iOS 26. And also today we're supposed to get iOS 18.6 beta 1. If we get that update, I will also make a video on that as well. But don't expect that update to be a really big one, as this late in iOS 18, they're just focusing on security and bug fixes. The focus is on iOS 26. As far as when to expect beta 2, I would expect that next week on June 23rd. Hopefully by then, I'll be able to update. Depending on when I upgrade this iPhone and get the iPhone 14, I will keep you guys up to date, and I will install the public beta on this particular device. I'll also put it on my iPad, which I'm thinking about doing at the same time. That's a debating thing that I'm thinking about, because I may put it on there or I may not. As I do use my iPad for a lot of video editing, which when I upgrade, I'm going to uninstall CapCut off of my iPad and download it on the iPhone 14, since that has more storage. But still, I use my iPad for a lot of other things as well. But either way, if I do install the public beta on either of my devices, you guys will know, because I'll have a video on both my YouTube and my TikTok showing you guys how the update runs and the overall performance of the update and a lot of other things. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And comment down below if you're running iOS 26. And if you are, how is the experience running for you? What do you think of the new features, the liquid glass that is in that software? And I will be installing the public beta at some point and keeping you guys up to date on iOS 26. My name is Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.